Air Shot. It already has a lot in common with Cannon, so for the sake of not retreading what I've already gone over before, we'll get into what other elements Air Shot introduces to the player, and maybe this will be a nice refresher for people entering the Gunslinger Standoff Challenge Tournament. First and foremost, I want to make this very clear. Air Shot deserves its spot in the library. I don't care what anyone says. It does, gosh darn it. Now, like I said before, Air Shot in execution has a lot in common with how Cannon is used on the playing field. However, it introduces two more elements that Cannon just doesn't have the EXP to acquire and convey to the player. 1. Air Shot pushes objects and enemies. Simple enough, but simple is good. What this does is make the player realize that there is more depth to the gameplay than originally perceived. An opponent can move however they would like, just like how you can move however you would like as well, but with Air Shot's inclusion, you realize that the opposite is also true. You can manipulate your opponent's movements as well. And not only that, a closer look at the box art tells you the price paid for getting hit with this chip. The fact that this chip also influences your opponent's actions as the push an opponent receives changes their position, but also stops them dead in their tracks, regardless of whether the attack causes a counter or not. 2. Air Shot introduces the concept of there being chips that won't cause an opponent to flash when taking damage. We aren't meant to learn this from the very beginning of the game, as this isn't something learned by facing off against viruses, but when you get to having showdowns with bosses or testing your mettle against other players, it becomes more apparent. With both of these elements introduced, whether against viruses or bosses and players, one realizes that the door open to executing combos has been creaked opened, allowing for more playstyles and battle options. Air Shot successfully foreshadows what possibilities are out there for future chips acquired in the series, especially and almost literally with a more powerful chip down the line with Wind Rack. Know your beginnings, gosh darn it. You wouldn't be here without Air Shot, you hear me? Anyhow, I highly doubt people will use Air Shot in their builds for the tournament, but I really hope so. Remember, it can also remove barriers and it comes out pretty fast. There's a nice combo potential there since you have faster frames than your opponent if you land it, but that's if you land it. But that's what challenges are all about. Next time in the lineup of Foundation chips, we'll go over Mini Bomb. Make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.